I could rattle off in a heartbeat 200 gardening tips for people. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say there's one tip that is more important than everything else, by far. It supersedes everything else. If you do this first thing, everything else is going to take care of itself. And the answer is to buy and use the correct fertilizer. And that's what we're looking at right here, to buy and use the correct fertilizer. Matter of fact, I'll go as far as to say, any farmer that doesn't do that and thinks that they can do everything, let's say organically and what have you, is going to eventually be bankrupt. I remember years ago watching Victory Garden, and they demonstrated soil that looked like that. And they would be out there planting fresh things in it, like tomato plants. And after they planted the tomato plant, they got out their fertilizer. And I'm going, for crying out loud, you would think that soil didn't need fertilizer, but the truth is it does. All of our soils are really too weak. So what is the correct fertilizer? I use a 15-15 formula that also, and this is absolutely the biggest secret, it contains 5% sulfur. So we have nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, and sulfur in there. What the sulfur does is it counteracts our alkaline soil. So if you want to know a little bit more about fertilizer and about this fertilizer and where to get it, you can go to my Iris website. It's mariposairis.com. There's a link to tips, and there's a paragraph in there about fertilizer and where you can buy this. Now, this is the #1 tip. So I use this fertilizer. You buy it and you have to use it. You don't put it on the ground, it won't do any good. I put it on everything. I put it on everything when I initially plant, and the other time I do it is I wait for the plants to tell me they're hungry. Plants are talking to us all the time, and people just don't realize it because we don't speak their language. But here's part of their language. Every plant has its own optimum green color. And you can see the color of that lettuce is a much lighter green than these onions. And you can see the potatoes way in the background that are even a deeper green yet. We've got an artichoke plant way over on the left that's really silvery green. And there's some cabbage plants hiding down there, kind of a blue-green. But they're all their optimum color. And for the longest time, I couldn't get my garden to grow good. Nothing looked good. From a distance, nothing looked good. And it finally dawned on me I was doing things wrong.
Where do you source your mulch from?
Good, excellent question. First of all, any kind of mulch works. Anything that's organic works. Some things just work better than others. And mostly what I use is wood chips. And fortunately, we grow in a place where the trees grow all the time and they have to constantly cut the power lines. So there's a constant source of wood chips around here, and it's pretty simple. You pester the guys until they bring it to you some. So I'm kind of on their love list, so they bring me stuff right away. But what else can we use instead of that? So I had a little demonstration. I left it here on purpose. You'll notice there's some weeds growing in my garden. Wow. You didn't see many, did you?
No. No.
Sherry didn't see many. So what are we going to do about these weeds? Here's what they're telling me. The weeds are telling me the mulch isn't deep enough. That's really what they're telling me. So I could pull them out and set them back, but if the mulch isn't deep enough, I'm going to get more weeds growing. So instead of that, the options that I have is I'm going to make the mulch deeper, and I'm going to show you what you can use. Okay, first of all, we have what I'll call clean cardboard. It doesn't have plastic tape around it for like reinforcing tape. If it has staples, they'll rust, it doesn't matter. So we can put that down. Here we have 2 different magazines. We have one magazine that's rather thin, and I'll estimate maybe 36 pages, and that's all I do with it. Here's another magazine that's a lot thicker. So all I'm going to do is kind of find the center and open it up. And I'm going to put that down. Okay, so I like wood chips best. They break down slowly, but what happens is the earthworm is going to end up eating these, and he's going to eat anything else that you put. All of that paper trash is going to be gone in 1 year. If you dig down through that, it's gone. It's already decomposed. Okay.
You don't water it first?
That I'm coming there.
Oh, you're coming there. Okay.
Actually, it's actually the next step.
Okay.
I like to, let's face it, it hasn't rained. It's not, well, we might get a thunder shower today, but it's not going to really rain until fall. So, here's another little trick. Before I turn the water on, I put a rubber band on my arm. All right? Why? Remind me I got the water on. Okay, this stuff is bone dry. Okay, and I'm going to start it getting a little wet in the area. Turn the water back off. And a lot of times when you get wood chips, you're going to have some real twiggy stuff in there. Incidentally, one of the reasons I like wood chips is there's basically no weed seed in this stuff. Compared to, let's say, using something that came out of a barn where you have fed hay to an animal, especially oat hay. Because oat hay contains all the oat seeds in it, and it comes up everywhere. So I like this because basically this stuff is sterile. And in about 2 years, this is all gone. So what do you do if you have twigs? And this was a pretty good load. It's real simple. I put them down first. Put the twigs down first. And I could take, I'll show you. These are dry cuttings off of a fruit tree. And I say dry because they won't sprout. Once upon a time, they brought me some willow that they had just chipped up. And I put it down and watered it, and all of it grew. So I learned to let willow chips dry up. So you go like, well, gosh, that looks terrible and it's crappy and what have you. The earthworms see this is a bounty. So what else do I have to do? Really tough. My sprinklers are going to do the rest of the watering because they're set up to automatically do it. All right. So what's going to happen to the weeds I buried? The answer is they're going to die right there. So I've taken care of the problem. If we come back here in a year, you won't see weeds growing in this spot. Incidentally, those aren't weeds; those are volunteer flowers. They're cleome.
Oh.
So yeah. So that's how we handled that.